It was an interesting moment for me at the time because I really wasn't seeking someone or anyone, I should say. I just hoped if I did meet someone that they would be a positive person to meet. Everything he was saying and doing was making me fall in love with him.
A lot of people quit going, that's just how it got to be. But she keeps on fighting and it takes a lot of guts. No justice, no peace!
You two are like two immature cartoon characters.
Objection. Where's any of this evidence of this?
Order!
I'm sanctioning you for $15,000.
I would like to see my son.
This is all about a child. A poor boy born into a battle. Even with your lies, I gotta survive. Said I'm gonna survive, I gotta survive. Even with your lies, I'm gonna survive, gotta survive. Said I'm gonna survive. This is not justice! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice!
You're trying to have a judge removed.
I'll sanction her for thousands of dollars for coming to court.
How much money is Mr. K and Mr. E paying you and your fellow judges to keep this woman away from her child? Said I'm gonna survive, I gotta survive. Even with your lies, I'm gonna survive, gotta survive. Said I'm gonna survive, I gotta survive. Even with your lies, I'm gotta survive, gonna survive. Said I'm gonna survive, I'm gonna survive. Even with your lies.
Welcome to the Dr. Meleeka Clary Show on the Bold and Brave TV network, where we're coming live. Yes, we are. Oh my gosh. First of all, I want to say thank you, God, for getting me up this morning and giving me another day to be able to say or do this show. It's very interesting that you get to, express yourself and talk to people and help people because that's what I like to do. That's what I like to do on the Dr. Meleeka Clary Show. And I have to say it's challenging because even the doctor goes through a lot of things in this world. And so I'm a living testimony of challenges and things that I go through. I don't always know why I have to go through these things, but I just know, it's something and it's got to be a reason why. Now, that reason, I have no clue. I think I'm still with everyone else. When you go through something, you don't know why you have to go through all these channels in your life. Does it make you stronger? Does it thicken your skin? And since I'm a God's child, not perfect, I'm still like, okay, there's got to be an example or a reasoning for that. And even being in the human flesh, not always one knows what that is. And I think that's like the patience, that you have to learn to have patience, and that's not easy to do, and especially when you're going through something. So I utilize my platform to help you understand that you're not alone. We all go through things. It takes time, and I know that. So I'm with you, in my life, in my personal life. Things that I know I can't just snap a finger and say, hey, boom, can that get done? Boom. That needs to be done now. And that's just not the way it goes. So I understand that. And it's a learning process. So bear with me while I bear with you. Take one step at a time, one day at a time, and just keep praying or whatever makes you bring you peace. Keep on trying to do that because I'm with you. The fight of dealing with life and the trials and tribulations that one goes through, I'm there too with you. So I'm not just telling you this information, I'm also trying to diagnose this information as well, or dissect this information, or take it all in. That's what I'm trying to do. So this is my confession. Try to deal with it as positive as you can. Try to find things that make you happy and find joy and peace, because I think when you're going through things, peace is the thing that you're not getting. You're not getting peace because there's stuff that's going on and you have no control of. And that is the big thing about how life is. We don't have the control, and the control is in somebody else's hands. So there you go. So I'm fighting that battle too. So on that note, I still have to say thank you for everyone who's been watching the Three Corners of Deception movie on Prime Video, still available, and supporting me on the Dr. Meleeka Clary Show on the Golden Braid TV network. I ask you still follow my social medias, Facebook or, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube videos that's out there, LinkedIn. I'm available on Google. So keep sharing my stories because, I'm telling you that there are things that I'm going through too. And so share the awareness. One thing about being a human rights activist, you believe in justice, you believe in rights, you believe in your civil rights, your amendment rights, your constitutional rights. I believe in all those things. So when things are not done right for me or other people, I see that and I'm like, wow, why is that? And I have a gift to say, hey, no, that's not supposed to happen that. People need to do something about that. Let's find a reason why is that happening. And that's what I try to do on my platform is to give informative, information. So then you can sit up there and say, okay, I got this information from Dr. Meleeka Clary on her platform. So you won't feel like you're left without nothing and you'll have some type of resources. But like I bring a lot of guests on my show, and we do have a guest on my show today that she's been a guest on my show several times. She gives very much like a lot of information and resources how to do things in the legal side and the judicial system. And you know what? It's break time. On that note, I'm going to take a brief commercial and I'll be right back with the Dr. Meleeka Clary Show on the Bold and Brave TV network. Do not go nowhere from. We'll be right back.
Hello, all. Three Corners of Deception movie is now available on Prime Video. How about that? October 14, 2023, on my 50th birthday, I am going to release this, and you guys can go ahead and help me do just that. Go see that movie. Thank you for all the support and not giving up on me. Go see that. Three Corners of Deception. Release me from all the pain and everything I've been through. Go see the movie. Thank you. I love you all. Thank you for all of the support. Go see that movie. Prime Video. Prime Video. How about that? God bless you all. I love you all.
It was really hard for me to do that movie sometime because at that time, because 10 years ago is what I went through. It wasn't then. So I had to take, even they say you play yourself. It's not really always easy to play yourself. You have to play yourself 10 years ago when your mind was discombobulated and you felt betrayal. You know what I mean? You felt like, life was just not it. And, not in my situation. And it is based on true events. And, unfortunately, it's about judicial deception, but it's also about romance and drama and divorce. It's something that just went to a different way. But as I changed it and went into a movie. But what's interesting about this situation, people don't understand. It's a flow technique for me. That was my release to finish this movie.
Welcome back to the Dr. Meleeka Clary Show on the Bold and Brave TV network. Well, we're coming live. Yes, and before we went on break, I was just telling you about being a human rights activist. And as you saw the movie, there's things that I believe in. I'm still fighting that battle, people. So I'm just letting you know. There's more things coming out, and I will be sharing because there's things I got to do. And that's the human rights activist I am. I believe in justice and I believe in rights and I believe in things should change. We can do it. We just got to work harder to help other people understand that. And on that note, I'm going to bring my amazing and beautiful guest, attorney Kristin Szczerbik. Come on in here, Kristin. Hey,
Hello. Thank you for having me.
how are you?
I'm good. A beautiful day, and I always enjoy being here with you.
Oh, thank you. You are so beautiful. I love your hair like that. I'm telling you, you're in sunshine, girl. You
Thank
bring
you.
it, and I love
Fire
to see it.
at the
It looks
bottom.
good. It looks good. It looks good.
Thank you.
You're welcome, my dear. Kristen, we're all about human rights and activism and stuff like that and believing what's right, what's wrong. But there's some people out there don't understand how the laws work. And I know you are a criminal attorney as well. And there's things that before you do certain things in life, you need to take these steps. And I want to ask you about, since you are a criminal lawyer, what about when there's a crime and maybe not, I want to say maybe fraud and not, and I have to ask about this because, I've had been hacked and people had got into my credit cards and, tapped into the bank account, it seems, and all that stuff too. What about with the victim? I mean, because what do you say about that to the victims that have been exposed to a crime like that? Because it's not like you go out there and you kill somebody and that's an instant crime, but it's still a hardship. It's still, psychologically, someone feeling like no one's hearing them and look what happened to me. It's still like you feel violated. What do you say to victims like that?
It's very interesting the wide range that encompasses the crimes that fall under fraud. It reminds me in some way of theft, and I mean theft as a burglary or a robbery. Someone comes into your home, they take something, you feel very, very violated. These fraud crimes, often it's stealing information. Maybe it's stealing money. Maybe it is stealing property, but it's done in a different way. People feel a little separated because maybe it's done through a computer. Maybe it's done through a financial institution. Maybe it's done through the credit card or the phone. But the victim of that still feels violated. It's very invasive, especially when you talk about, you said your credit card was hacked. Some people have their identity taken, and it's something that can impact your life for a very long time, trying to explain that and repair that. So first of all, anyone that's had that happen, they need to recognize that if they are a victim of that, it is okay to have all the different feelings that you have with it: anger, feeling violated, not feeling safe. And some people get mad at themselves because they think maybe they didn't take enough protections and it's their fault, but it's not their fault. Somebody else had a criminal intent in mind when they did that, and that is not your fault. So that's just something, first of all, when you talk to somebody that's happened to, and a lot of people can relate. This happens to so many people, unfortunately. And it's not just a one-on-one type of crime. In other words, one person acting against one victim. You've all heard about different entities being hacked. You've heard about it was happening to government entities for a while. Their systems were being hijacked, and they said, well, give it back to you if you pay us money. I actually worked for a place where that had happened, and I couldn't believe that was actually happening, but it did. And you hear sometimes about, our security has been breached for fill in the blank for whatever credit company that millions of people belong to. So whenever that does happen, it is still personal. It is still a violation, and potentially is a crime depending on the circumstances.
Yes. I mean, and I know it's just that when you are the victim, you just feel like no one's hearing you. And I know cybercrime has been out for a minute now, and it still seems like you can get away with this type of stuff. It's almost like when you commit a crime and you go into I want to say a store or something, you just steal something. That happens right off the bat. You caught the person, you go to jail. But this type of crime, it's not as easy. It's a waiting game. It's like developing paperwork. How is that when you feel like, well, this is taking longer than somebody actually went into a store and stole something that's like broad daylight? You see that. And how's the reinsurance, or is it any reinsurance for the victim? Because you want things to move. because I know that I've heard stories, especially like elderly people. There was some hacking, and there's thousands of dollars missing from their account, and no one, they can't do anything about it, but they have to wait. I mean, an elderly person needs their money, and you're just like, okay, because this is not a crime that you go into the store, and it's done through computers. It's done through somebody called you on the phone, and it's almost like, why should I speak to somebody on the phone? They could be tapping and tapping it, or you be on your computer, and you don't know if somebody's just going into it while you paying your bill, and it's just a waiting game that brings a lot of anxiety for people. I mean, are we able to, like, I mean, what is it, anything could be done, but that's kind of what I'm looking at. Like, what are we doing with that? I mean, is there anything that could reassure people, or at least bring them to some type of peace with
Well,
that?
peace, I can't always promise peace, but through the justice system, you can promise investigation. And if that investigation leads to where the prosecutor or district attorney feels that there's enough to proceed with the crime, you can do that. If not, there is always civil remedy as well. But the first part of that is identifying that if a crime happened to you, this often will happen without somebody knowing it, and they find out down the line. Some fortunate situations they find out right away. Maybe they got a call or were alerted or tipped off somehow. And when that happens, the person may be in disbelief, but it is important to report that right away. Report it if it was through a financial institution. You want to report it through there. You can go to the police, report it there, and let them do their job. And you point out something you're absolutely correct about, that these investigations can take longer than perhaps for example, somebody caught red-handed at the scene, shoplifting, they're arrested, you come back. This is something that requires a lot of investigation to get the documents, the paperwork to prove all of the elements so that they can proceed with a criminal action.
Wow. Yeah, and you're right. You know what? We're going to come right back because we have to take a break. We'll be right back with the beautiful attorney Kristen. We'll be right back on the Bold and Brave TV network where we're going live. So we'll be back. Come back. Come back.
It was because of me having a voice and saying something about what had happened to me, because I can't believe it. I can't believe that these individuals put their good name and their reputation on the line just to hurt somebody because they spoke up. Yes, see, that's what happens when you speak up. I get it, but I'm not fearful because of that. Even though I went through a lot and still go through a lot of things, I got God on my side, and I feel like if that is not enough, then I don't know what it is. Because I'm still standing and I'm still telling my story, and I'm gonna keep on telling stories, and that is why I like film. Because film, you'll be able to express things that you went through and experiences and people. You'd be amazed what you can do. It was really hard for me to do that movie sometime because at that time, because 10 years ago is what I went through. It wasn't then. So I had to take, even they say you play yourself. It's not really always easy to play yourself. You have to play yourself 10 years ago when your
Right.
mind was discombobulated and you felt betrayal. You know what I mean? You felt like, life was just not it. And, not in my situation. And it is based on true events. And, unfortunately, it's about judicial deception, but it's also about romance and drama and divorce. It's something that just went to a different way. But as I changed it and went into a movie. But what's interesting about this situation, people don't understand. It's a flow technique for me. That was my release to finish this movie.
Welcome back to the Dr. Meleeka Clary Show on the Bold and Brave TV network where we're coming live. We are still with the beautiful Kristen, attorney Kristen. Come on back, beautiful.
Thank you. I'm here.
Oh, yes. Before we went on break, we was talking about, things that you can do. And it is a waiting process with fraud, when somebody commits fraud. And I want to know now, is it steps that you take? I mean, like, okay, like you said, you can go to the prosecutor. Well, actually, you file a complaint. Let me show me what the steps are or explain what the steps are for a person that was a victim of a fraudulent act?
Yes, if someone believes that they were the victim of a fraudulent act, the first step would be to make a report. Where you report depends on what type of act it was. So if something happened through a bank, such as a forged check or a falsely written check, you immediately want to let your bank know. Say, hey, I didn't write that check. Because there are things they can do to freeze the funds and prevent further acts from happening. And beyond that, if you believe it was a criminal act that happened, you need to make a police report. There are police assigned to investigate these types of crimes and who specialize in that. And for it to go forward for a criminal action against somebody, they have to first have the police report. And then they put together the evidence that they can find, decide if they can, one, identify the person or persons, and put charges together. And then they give that report off to the prosecutor or district attorney, depends on your state what it's called. And then they'll decide if charges can happen. Now, let's say something happens to you, but the prosecutor in your area doesn't feel it's enough to actually charge a crime. Well, you still may have civil remedies available to you, meaning go talk to an attorney. You might be wanting to file a civil suit if you've identified who did this action against you, because you want return of your funds if you lost money. If it was an identity issue, well, you're going to want more than just return of funds, because this is going to affect you for many years down the road in your life. And you can have damages for a long time if your identity was stolen. And beyond that, you can do things specifically in your life. You can call each of the credit bureaus, let them know if you have, monitor your credit to make sure nothing's happening. And there are additional things beyond that you can do if something happens specifically with finances. Now, because fraud is such a broad term, even how it's defined in the statute here in Indiana, there's a lot of things that can encompass that I'm not even getting into. We have fraud of people collecting benefits from the government that they shouldn't be collecting. There's all kinds of different areas, but just speaking kind of generally to some of the more common things that people experience in their life that I think you're kind of wanting to address, that would be the general action of how it goes.
Okay. Now, when you deal with fraud, when you conduct an investigation and you order subpoenas, now, can you order subpoenas or the police officer has to order? How does that process work for people?
Right. So just the common citizen isn't going to be able to issue a subpoena, but police, law enforcement entities can get information that the common citizen cannot. However, if a civil action has been started already, then those people through attorneys can issue subpoenas for information. But really, in these cases, the best place to start is with investigation. And those entities that are conducting the investigation will have the power to find the information that they need to get. And if they don't, then they'll seek it from the court to get that information. A lot of times these records are things that are not attainable by you or I as a common citizen, but they are attainable as attorney, acting as attorney, or law enforcement agency, that kind of thing. That's why it's best to let them do as much of the investigation as they can. If you try to do it yourself, you're probably going to be hitting a lot of dead ends. So report it immediately, let them handle the investigation, assist in however you can. And if they need access to things, share that so that they can proceed with the investigation.
Okay. Now, when you have those subpoenas, and now doesn't a judge sign off on those subpoenas, and do you get a cause number for that? How can the victim, because you can go ahead and speak to the police and they're saying they're doing something, or the detective, they're saying they're doing something. But how do the victim actually know they're really doing something? Is there a way that if there's a cause number with the subpoena, is it on some site that you can actually see, oh, this is a subpoena, it actually went out. A judge actually, signed this. Okay, something's going on. Where's the peace for the victims instead of, harassing, or I won't say harassing because they're victims and they feel like they need to be heard, instead of just keep calling the detective or the police officer? What's going on? And they're trying to find peace. They're trying to find that somebody's hearing them, because as you're a victim of a crime, you want to know that somebody's listening. You want to know movement is taking place. You want to know what's going on. How can the victim actually see something?
Well, they may not get to see all the things they want to see because part of the investigation may be sealed off. And when you asked about does a judge sign a subpoena, well, not necessarily. And it kind of just depends. And so if there is for example, a civil case already started or a criminal case already started where there is a cause number and it is, for example, let's say it's a civil case and I'm issuing a subpoena, I don't have to ask the judge for subpoena, at least in Indiana, generally speaking. But if I'm issuing what's called a third party subpoena, I have to give notice to the other side and they get a chance to object and things like that. Now, beyond the word subpoena, because I think you may be thinking of that in more broad terms, such as warrants and other ways that police entities can get information. Those types of things may need signature by the judge and the court, depending specifically what it is. But not all of that is available to the public. If it's gone to the point of a criminal investigation and then gone to the point where the prosecutor's looking at it, in Indiana anyway, most counties have a victim advocate assigned. And that person is a good contact person to inform the victim of what's going on. And it's unfortunate, they'll tell you as much as they can, but in order to further the investigation, there may be things that they may not be able to know along the way. But anyone who has gone through this and has worked with a police entity, a law enforcement agency that's really good, a detective that's experienced and understands how to work with people, they'll find that they'll get most of the answers they want. They do want to help you. They're busy too. They have a lot of cases. Yeah. So, you want to make sure you're respectful of their time as well so they can focus more on your case. But there is a way to get those answers, but to get it publicly like that, not in the investigative stage, you're not going to get that.
Okay. Well, that was very good to explain that. Thank you so much. And on that note, we have to take a break. We will be right back with the Dr. Meleeka Clary Show on the Bold and Brave TV network, where we're coming live. Yeah, we do come live, but we'll be right back.
Hello, all. Three Corners of Deception movie is now available on Prime Video. How about that? October 14, 2023, on my 50th birthday, I am going to release this, and you guys can go ahead and help me do just that. Go see that movie. Thank you for all the support and not giving up on me. Go see that. Three Corners of Deception. Release me from all the pain and everything I've been through. Go see the movie. Thank you. I love you all. Thank you for all of the support. Go see that movie. Prime Video. Prime Video. How about that? God bless you all. I love you all. It was because of me having a voice and saying something about what had happened to me, because I can't believe it. I can't believe that these individuals put their good name and their reputation on the line just to hurt somebody because they spoke up. Yes, see, that's what happens when you speak up. I get it, but I'm not fearful because of that. Even though I went through a lot and still go through a lot of things, I got God on my side, and I feel like if that is not enough, then I don't know what it is, because I'm still standing and I'm still telling my story, and I'm gonna keep on telling stories, and that is why I like film, because film, you'll be able to express things that you went through and experiences and people. You'd be amazed what you can do.
Welcome back to the Dr. Meleeka Clary Show on the Bold and Brave TV network, where we're coming live. We are still with the beautiful Kristin. Come on, Attorney Kristin. Come on in here.
I'm here.
Well, thank you for being here. You know what? Before we went on break, we was talking about victims, and we was talking about, you said something about victims advocates. how do you know about them? Like, how would somebody who is a victim that can get in touch with a victim advocate that, can help them? Because I think it's always when a crime has taken place on someone, or when money is taken away or something happened to them, they feel like, okay, why me? Why did this happen to me? So you're already feeling depressed and already have enough anxiety that no one's listening, but they don't know these resources, that there is advocates out there that actually will talk to victims. So what are those like? How do you get in touch with a victim? Because I know I'm in Hamilton County, and I like to know, because people who in Hamilton County might not know where the victim unit is, or advocate for people.
Right. Absolutely. That's a wonderful question. Sometimes I talk about things assuming that everybody knows what I'm talking about, right? So victim advocacy is something very near and dear to my heart. I was actually part of the process of many years ago, over 25 years ago, something like that, starting the appellate victim advocacy program through the state attorney general's office. And through that, that is something that has always just remained in my heart. I mean, we helped over 2,000 victims in that first year through notification, explaining court procedures, things like that. And that was through the attorney general's office for people who had appeals. Now, when you go locally to counties, and there is actually in Indiana, there is statute regarding victims involved in a crime that moves forward on what their rights are along the way. So most counties have their own victim advocate within the prosecutor's office. Some of them actually, it's interesting that it's a private entity that may serve multiple counties. And I can't remember the name of the county right now where that mostly was, but there's usually somebody there. So if it's got to the point where the crime is being prosecuted, at least in Indiana, there is somebody who will be reaching out to you to talk to you, to keep you informed of when there's hearings of what's going on in the case, if there's something you're allowed to speak to the court or the judge about. Now, prior to that, let's say a fraud happened to you and it involves a bank or financial institution. A lot of those places will have a fraud department, and there may be somebody within there that you can ask to be your contact person. You may need to be a little more proactive on it in those kinds of cases where it hasn't risen to the level of a crime. But that's really what I'm talking about with victim advocacy when it's got to that point. Prior to the criminal process, then you're kind of at the behest of whatever private company or agency or entity has in place for them. But a lot of places do have something or someone who can be a contact person to help you along the way. And if not, then you need to start reaching out online and seeing what it is that you can do. And this can vary by state. Again, I'm in Indiana. We know I can't give legal advice to any particular person or case, why we're giving general information on here. And it may be different where you live, but there are resources. And if it isn't directly available to you through law enforcement, through the prosecutor's office, through the private entity or government entity that you're working with, then go online. There are advocacy groups, private groups, public groups. You can even see them on Facebook, but be careful who you're talking to. Don't just trust anybody, but they are out there. And some of them, some of the private entities are people who have been through it, or people who just want to help make sure that you have justice or understand the process along the way.
Okay, thank you for that. What about when you deal with the police officers and a victim? It's different feelings that go through victims' mind when they're talking to a police officer, because they're supposed to be like, they don't, as I hear, it doesn't seem that some of them are sympathetic of your situation. And are we, as when you're a victim, you feel like you should, hold my hand or do something that, if this were you, how would you feel? And how does that feel when, well, not the feeling, but the action of when victims feel like they're just not heard, even though a police officer might say, okay, we got this information. Okay, and what do you do with it? Then it's like you need more information. So the victim is made to be little detectives because they're trying to gather information because they need to try to make the case, but they're victims. And it's, but that's what a victim feel like. They feel violated. They feel like, hey, are you hearing me? You hearing us right now? I mean, what are we doing? Because I know that police officers have a load of things and they do things, but how do you understand what the victim, when they're just like, it's not moving quick enough, we're not seeing justice as quick enough? And it, it might be, even if somebody is, they have a different level of, I don't know, maybe legal status or something like that, and the person might be powerless. And like you said, you may not see them saying, hey, this crime has been committed. But for a powerless person versus a person who has power, you feel like you're not being heard, and you feel like you're being annoyed, like somebody's not paying attention to you.
Right.
So
And
how's that?
yeah, you wouldn't be the first person that has expressed that some people may feel that way through the system. And remember, any system we're talking about is made up of people, right? We're not robots, we're people, and we're doing this, and we have emotions. Sometimes emotions have to be put aside a little bit. So you're going to experience the whole gamut because it's real people running all of these government entities, law enforcement agencies.
Mhm.
However, some of the experiences can vary widely. You may encounter an officer who has the experience and training to really understand, to recognize what's happening in that moment, and may come across as a little more understanding. You may have one who's going to be doing just the same amount of work and just as wonderful of a job, but emotionally you may not feel like that person is really listening to you. But the hard part is knowing, okay, they've received the information, and what's the follow-up going to be? I have to be patient. I have to let them do their job. It doesn't mean you need to disappear off into the wind and trust that everybody is doing everything that they need to do. It is okay to follow up. It's okay to check, because people have a lot of things going on, and they'll answer. It doesn't mean they're going to pick up the phone 24/7. They may be looking at a lot of other cases too, but the patience part. And if you really don't feel like you're being heard with whoever it is that you've reported it to, there's always, as you said, a next level up. There's a supervisor, there's a chief, there's something that oversees whatever that department is, another entity. And, I hate to say it, but if all else fails, there is always the public. You'll definitely see people who will resort to, if they need to really be heard, that's part of the justice system too. So
You said a good thing there. I'm about to hit you on that one. But we're going to take a break. So we'll be right back with the Dr. Meleeka Clary Show on the Bold and Brave TV network. Don't go nowhere, fam. We'll be right back with amazing attorney Kristen.
It was really hard for me to do that movie sometime because at that time, because 10 years ago is what I went through. It wasn't then. So I had to take, even they say you play yourself. It's not really always easy to play yourself. You have to play yourself 10 years ago when your
Right.
mind was discombobulated and you felt betrayal. You know what I mean? You felt like, life was just not it. And, not in my situation. And it is based on true events. And, unfortunately, it's about judicial deception, but it's also about romance and drama and divorce. It's something that just went to a different way. But as I changed it and went into a movie. But what's interesting about this situation, people don't understand. It's a flow technique for me. That was my release to finish this movie. Hello, all. Three Corners of Deception movie is now available on Prime Video. How about that? October 14, 2023, on my 50th birthday, I am going to release this, and you guys can go ahead and help me do just that.
Go see that movie. Thank you for all the support and not giving up on me. Go see that. Three Corners of Deception. Release me from all the pain and everything I've been through. Go see the movie. Thank you. I love you all. Thank you for all of the support. Go see that movie. Prime Video. Prime Video. How about that? God bless you all. I love you all.
Welcome back to the Dr. Meleeka Clary Show on the Bold and Brave TV network, where we're coming live. And we are. So, welcome back. Let's get Kristen back in here. Come on, girl. That's right. Get. That's what we should be doing. I really do. I want to just jam, you know what I mean? Just be like excited. And I know I like the fact that we talk about these different things. It makes me feel comfortable that you know a little bit more, even if I didn't know this information. But I know other people are wondering about certain things because crime is crime, and there's many victims out there for different reasons. And you mentioned something before we left on break about the public. Now, here's the thing about that. And I was in protesting. And when I advocate for people, I try to say, okay, we can go ahead and do a press release or we can protest. Here's the thing. I believe that is a great thing. But I think the problem is that people need to understand why they want to protest because they're seeing things in our judicial system is not working for the powerless. And I say that because they wouldn't be feeling that way if they felt like someone was hearing them. And then, like, for example, if you make a police report and they're not looking at that crime, if it's fraud or something like that, seriously. And then you have to go to higher up. That tells me that you're not being heard. But then when you go higher up over that person, then they may do something. But then are they doing something just saying, hey, we're going to do this because we hear you? And then it just sits there and you're waiting and waiting and waiting. Can you fault the people for saying, okay, we're going to go protest for justice? We're going to protest that this is, injustice, being a victim of a crime that if it was someone who had power and did and committed a crime, but has power, but against a powerless individual, where's the justice for that? If this is what we have to go out there and start rooting and shouting and saying, hey, you're not doing anything. This is where it has to go when a powerless person started, trying to be reasonable and say, hey, I'm a victim. Can you help me? These are things that are happening. But you're not listening, so we got to go to the streets. And then you're listening. I mean, we're doing it backwards here. I mean, I think it doesn't explode. It doesn't explode until you're not feeling like you're being heard or action. There's no action. And or if it's action, is very little action because these individuals could be more powerful. And my story, because of the movies based on judicial deception. So if I had a lot of run-ins with judicial officers and I felt just wasn't heard. That's why I did this movie. And I can't say that I'm still feeling heard. I'm still battling things. But am I going to, it seems like eventually protesting is around the corner because that's only how you can feel like you being heard. But you got to go up to the courthouse or you got to go to the police station and you got to start telling them and yelling. What I'm trying to say is that why do it have to be that level when you try to do it reasonable as a victim and as reporting a crime and saying, hey, can you help me? Why you got to be like mad and now we're angry and now we got 200 people out there and everybody's angry because it could be them. That's where that human rights activist comes in. It could be you. And what we're going to do? What are we going to do? So does it always have to go to that level? Because it's there. It's there.
Well, we would hope it doesn't always have to go to that level, but we should be grateful that we live in a country that if we don't feel heard and we feel powerless to change something or to have justice happen for us or someone else, that we have the ability to escalate it to that level. You know, there are other countries you're not allowed to speak your mind. You're not allowed to advocate, self-advocate in that way. And we were talking about victim advocacy earlier and having others help us through the process. But there's nothing wrong with self-advocating as well. In other words, you know, do the follow-ups, go through the process. And then if you don't feel heard, go to the next level and the next level. And I don't think it should be every case rises to the level of we need to protest. But those are extreme situations that usually happen. And you encountered extreme situation. You tried and tried and tried and tried and tried, beating your head against the wall to be heard, felt unheard, had the ability to do that and did that and feel that that made change. And certainly throughout the history of our country, protesting over certain things has helped bring in change. So the fact that we can do that and then that we're allowed to do that under the certain circumstances that we are, where we're not being violent, it's good that that's there, because if you haven't had the other processes work for you, it's another avenue. I don't advocate that that's the first step that should happen, right? Where we try to go through the process and make sure that, because we don't want to assume that your rights are going to be trampled upon. We want to assume that people are in their job and they're going to try to do what they want. And it's when you encounter that they aren't and you try and try and try, that is an avenue that you can do. If you get to the point that you felt it's unfortunate and it's heartbreaking in a lot of situations when it gets to that level, but still have so many issues and things in our country throughout the history of it. And I'm grateful we can even do that. Honestly, I hate when it comes to that and it happens, but boy, is it powerful when it comes to that and it actually results in change for the better.
Yes. Oh, thank you. And I see you very passionate about that, and I appreciate that, because that is something that, you know, being victimized of something that you feel like you can't do nothing about, it does make a person who doesn't have the power, they feel powerless and they feel like not heard. But on that note, we're going to take a brief commercial and we'll be right back with the Dr. Meleeka Clary Show on the Bold and Brave TV network. Don't go nowhere, folks. Be right back.
It was an interesting moment for me at the time, because I really wasn't seeking someone or anyone, I should say. I just hoped if I did meet someone, that they would be a positive person to meet. Everything he was saying and doing was making me fall in love with him.
A lot of people quit going, that's just how it got to be. But she keeps on fighting and it takes a lot of guts. No justice, no peace!
You two are like two immature cartoon characters.
Objection. Where's any of this evidence of this?
Order.
I'm sanctioning you for $15,000.
I have a right to see my son.
This is all about a child. A poor boy born into a battle. Even with your lies, I gotta survive. Said I'm gonna survive, I gotta survive. Even with your lies, I'm gonna survive, gotta survive. Said I'm gonna survive. This is not justice. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. No justice.
You're trying to have a judge removed.
I'll sanction her for thousands of dollars for coming to court.
How much money is Mr. K Man, Mr. G paying you and your fellow judges to keep this woman away from her child? Said I'm gonna survive, I gotta survive. Even with your lies, I'm gonna survive, gotta survive. Said I'm gonna survive, I gotta survive. Even with your lies, I've gotta survive, gonna survive. Said I'm gonna survive, I'm gonna survive. Even with your lies.
Welcome back to the Dr. Meleeka Clary Show on the Bold and Brave TV Network, where we're coming live. All right, Attorney Kristen, come in here, beautiful. All
Hello.
right. Hi. Kristen, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. I get so much insight and information, and I know our viewers do too, because, we try to change things. We try to do things. I go through my challenges in my life. That's how I started this platform, is because things that I was going through and the corruption that I have seen in my life with the judicial system. And I have to say that, and I'm always going to stick on that because that's what motivated me to do this movie, to complete that movie, and, try to make an impact of what I went through. And unfortunately, there's things I still go through. And I'm still going to fight that battle until I see justice across the board. And but one thing I will say is that it's such a pleasure to know that you're an attorney and you're one of the good people. And see, my battle is with the attorney. Yes, and some bad judges that I have ran against. But I've seen some good judges because we mentioned some of them during my interview. There were some good judges that I have run across. And one thing I have to say, you got bad people, good people. But when you use your legal status to hurt another person just because you can, that's the part that is really bothering me. And I've seen that, and I'm a living testimony to that, and I still go through that. And I look at that as being a victim. But then when I look at my children, and there's things happening to my adult children that's victims right now, which you probably will hear later on. That's why I asked on certain things. And I have to say this because, when you don't feel like you're heard, for a person like me, we're gonna take it to the streets. And that might be coming soon. And unfortunately, it's because when you deal with the powerless and then you have a powerful person, people commit crimes, they should be treated the same way as a powerless person. If you do something, you should be treated like you've done something because a powerless person cannot do certain things either without getting penalized. And I always gonna ask just justice, just be fair. And I know people would, give this label theory, well, that's the judicial system. And I'm never going to have that mindset. Why? Because I come from the judicial system. Four of my degrees is in criminal justice. I'm paralegal. I'm in the legal system. I have degrees in law. I can never think that we can't make a difference. I can never think there's the judicial system is not there to help, or there's nothing but bad individuals. I can't do that. I have to believe that there's just the individual. It's just a personality for that person. You know what I mean? So when you say, these are the things that happen and we fight this battle, sometime when you had enough, that's all you can do is go and take it to the streets. And you're right. I'm glad we are in a state or a country that you can voice your opinion. It's just that why do it always have to get to when you're angry and you're exhausted and you don't see no other way out but fight this way? And I'm like that. I believe in it. I'm going to fight for it. And I'm going to collaborate with other people who believes the same thing because I'm not just fighting for me, I'm fighting for my children and what they have to live into and how they have to go forward. So, I appreciate you giving that. I know we run out of time. We always run out of
I know.
time. So I thank you so much for all your thoughts and we're gonna get you back. You wanna come
Okay.
back. We gotta
Absolutely.
do we gotta do stuff. I don't
We have
know, we
a lot
gotta
to
do
say.
We gotta do so. So, with that being said, thank you again for being a guest on the Dr. Meleeka Clary Show. So much. Thank you. And
Thank
as you know, I said at the beginning, You know, you can find me, Google me, and everything like that. We have ran out of time. But God bless you. Have a wonderful day and a weekend to come. And if no one said I love you, I love you. And thank you for tuning in to the Dr. Meleeka Clary Show on the Bold and Brave TV network. May your wishes come true. God bless. Take care. Bye bye.
You've been watching the Dr. Meleeka Clary Show. Tune in next week as Dr. Meleeka will help you shift towards a better life. But this show doesn't stop there. She'll provide helpful tips regarding surviving the entertainment industry and the judicial system with practical information. Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern, here on the Bold Brave TV network.